Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimakung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chap. 16 Stone Knitting of A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second Golden Thread.
As.
Ah.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second Golden Thread. Charles Dickens. Chapel. 16 Stone Knitting. Madame Defarge and Monsieur her husband returned amicably to the bosom of Saint Antoine, while a speck in a blue cup twirled through the darkness, and through the dust, and down the weary miles of avenue by the wayside, slowly tending towards that point of the compass where the shadow of Monsieur the Marquis, now in his grave, listened to the whispering trees. Such ample leisure had the stone faces, and for listening to the trees and to the fountain, that the few village scarecrows who, in their quest for obsteed and fragments of dead stick to burn, strayed within sight of the great stone courtyard and terrace staircase, uttered. A rumour just lived in the village had a faint and bare existence there, as its people had that when the night struck home. The faces changed, from faces of pride to faces of anger and pain. Also, that when that dangling figure was hauled up 30 feet above the fountain, they changed again, and bore a cruel look of being avenged, which they would henceforth bear forever. Then, two fine dints were pointed out in the sculptured nose, which everybody recognised, and which nobody had seen of old. To take a hurried peep at Monsieur the Marquis petrified, a skinny finger would not have pointed to it for a minute, before they all started away among the moss and leaves, like the more fortunate hares who could find a living there. Chateau and hat, stone face and dangling figure, the red stain on the stone floor, Frensil France soufflé under the night sky, concentrated into a faint hairbreadth line. So does a whole world, with all its greatnesses and littlenesses, lie in a twinkling star of its composition. So, sublimer intelligences may read in the feeble shining of this earth of ours every thought and act, every vice and virtue, of every responsible creature on it. The Defarges, husband and wife, came lumbering under the starlight, in their public vehicle, to that gate of Paris whereunto their journey naturally tended. There was the usual stoppage at the burial guardhouse, and the usual lanterns came glancing forth for the usual examination and inquiry. Monsieur Defarge alighted, knowing one or two of the soldiery there, and one of the police. The latter he was intimate with, and affectionately embraced. When Saint Antoine had again enfolded the Defarges in his dusky wings, and they, having finally alighted near the Saint's boundaries, were picking their way on foot through the black mud and offal of his streets, Madame Defarge spoke to her husband. Say then, my friend, very little tonight, but all he knows. There is another spy commission for our quarter. There may be many more, for all that he can say. A well said Madame Defarge, raising her eyebrows with a cool business air. It is necessary to register him. So much the better. Borsad, said Defarge, making it French by pronunciation. But He had been so careful to get it accurately that he then spelt it with perfect correctness. Barsad, repeated Madam. John Barsad, repeated Madam, after murmuring it once to herself. His appearance. Age. About 40 years. Height. About 5 feet 9. Black hair. Complexion dark. Generally. Rather handsome visage. Eyes dark. Face thin. On. Ancelo. Nose equivalent, but not straight, having a peculiar inclination towards the left cheek. Expression. Therefore, in my faith, it is a portrait, said Madame. Laughing, they turned into the wine shop, which was closed for it was midnight, and where Madame Defarge immediately took her post at her desk, counted the small moneys that had been taken during her absence, examined the stack, went through the entries in the book, made other entries of her own, checked the serving men in every possible way, and finally dismissed him to bed. Then she turned out the contents of the bowl of money for the second time, and began knotting them up in her handkerchief, in a chain of separate knots, for safekeeping through the night. All this while, Defarge, with his pipe in his mouth, walked up and down, complacently admiring, but never interfering, in which condition, indeed, as to the business and his domestic affairs, he walked up and down through life. The night was hot, and the shop, close shut and surrounded by so foul a neighbourhood, was ill-smelling. Monsieur Defarge's olfactory sense was by no means delicate, but the stock of wine smelled much stronger than it ever tasted, and so did the stock of rum and brandy and aniseed. He whiffed the compound of scents away, as he put down his smoked-out pipe. "You are fatigued," said Madame, raising her glance as she nodded the money. "I am a little tired," her husband acknowledged. "You are a little depressed." "Too," said Madame. His quick eyes had never been so intent on the accounts, but they had had a ray or two for him. "Well, the men." "But my dear," began Defarge. "But my dear," repeated Madame. "To be continued."